Integrated agency, I think is an overused term, but it's also I would say a bit of a naive term in our industry at the moment. It just blows my mind that people make decisions on investing in marketing to try and drive value without that smart thinking first. But in large organisations, you have a sales machine over here and you have a marketing machine over here. The tech doesn't talk to each other, and the poor CEO or CMO in the middle is going, why aren't we moving this business forward? Strategy should give you why you're doing something. The plan should give you what you're doing.
Do you think we know it all about strategy then? Do you reckon we've got it?
Yeah.
When we come across a really big brand. Andy, for you, what is strategy?
If I was to put it into one sentence, I think strategy is the sort of roadmap and the vision, not the tasks and the plan and everything that sits under, or tactics that sit underneath it. I don't know if you'd challenge that in any way.
No,
what do you think, James? Yeah.
I agree, Bonnie, because for me, a strategy is about getting to an outcome. It's about getting to, specific results. And I think the importance of a strategy, it allows you to design the tactics, the stepping stones to getting there. But I think unless you know where you're going, the vision, as Andy said, it's so easy to get distracted or waylaid. So what is a strategy? For me, it's a plan to achieve an objective. That objective could be revenue-based, it could be an outcome of any sorts. But I think unless you've got that vision, that outcome, those desired results, really, you don't have a strategy without that target.
Yeah, I was thinking about it from the perspective of someone running a business, thinking about what difference it makes to have that strategy in place. And a lot of the kind of business leaders that I've worked with, one of the reasons for having a strategy is kind of like to get through any sort of bumps or hurdles with confidence and clarity, so that even though all this stuff might come in, as it always does in business, and try to derail, if you've got a strategy in place, it's almost easier to hold your eye on where you're going.
Yeah, I think it's interesting really, because personally over the last 20 years, my perception and knowledge and understanding of what a strategy is has completely evolved and changed. And what I mean by that is, historically, we're called strategic. So you'd think that everything we do should lean up to a strategy. And that in itself has evolved over the years. And we think about marketing strategy, right? So you go, what is a marketing strategy? How do you write a marketing strategy? How do you give yourself a roadmap with clear milestones and an end point, as you were saying there, James? But I think that's changed, and the understanding of what that looks like has now changed significantly.
What do you think is different?
Well, I think the main thing is the connection with how you write the strategy has changed, and what I mentioned earlier about articulating it. So for us, there's a three-tiered approach or three-pronged approach. So the first thing is, we've always said this, and this has been absolutely critical, is understand the business objectives. You mentioned earlier about working with business owners, CMOs, CEOs. What's the business plan? And often you can fall at the first hurdle with lots of conversations. I mean, how many times do you sit down with a client and say, okay, let's just run through what the plan is? And even that can be a little bit challenging.
It can be unclear, right? Because often they've never asked themselves those questions, and it can sometimes take that fresh voice to actually really unearth what the business objectives are and to all align behind them.
Yeah, because it takes a lot to stay focused on the bigger picture. I think when you're running a business, you often end up drawn into the day-to-day, and the tendency is often to think that's the direction, but of course it's not. It's not the thing, that kind of overarching thing that's holding stuff together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you take the three elements that we think are important to us, and and we're talking about strategic here, you need a really clear business plan. If you connect the business plan up to the brand strategy or brand positioning piece, if you're really clear on who you are as a business and how you want to articulate that and communicate that to the outside world, for me, that's your brand piece. the connection between the business and the brand should be the marketing strategy. The tech piece is really important now, more so than ever.
Yeah.
So when we're talking to clients, the most important part, or one of the most important parts of being clear and making sure that there's value out of what you're doing is connecting up the data to the tech. Because if you get, or vice versa, connecting up the tech to the data. So if you have good tech, you can get good data. If you have good data, you can make good business decisions. And if you connect your brand up with your tech, there's a really good chance that your customer experience is aligned. And then if you take that back to tech, back to the business plan, that should be, we talk a lot now in business transformation, and you have lots of technical conversations with clients about how do you match up the business plan to the tech infrastructure. And those three elements, the business plan, the brand, and the tech, if you cross those over with a really clear marketing strategy, a really clear customer experience strategy, and a really clear tech strategy, for us, they're the three elements where you get value in the middle. And if you kind of rewind that back a little bit, and if you take the business plan out of that diagram, it doesn't work, it all falls apart. There's no overarching strategy, right? If you take the brand element out of that strategy, there's nothing for people to align themselves to. There's nothing for consumers to get excited about. So that part falls away. And I would say 99% of businesses I speak to now, business owners, are either frustrated with tech, have underinvested in tech, and then that's that last piece of if you take that part out, it falls down as well.
It does, and I think a lot of people come to us, as Andy's saying, brands come to us. They don't necessarily ask and say, I'm here for a strategy. They'll talk about that tech. Our website doesn't work, it's slow, it's not secure, it's not fulfilling our needs. Can we have a new website, please? Our strategy is to have a new website. Or they'll say to us, our paid media isn't performing. And you know, the route to change, the route to establishing a strategy can often come through one of those areas. And I think what I've noticed that's changed is that all of these things working together, a lot of brands haven't yet made that connection that Andy's talking about. And I think that's the importance of a digital strategy. You know, we are in the digital age. You know, there's so many brands that we work with that perhaps used to be more offline focused or more equally offline focused. So much now is digital. And I think that's why the tech part is so important. You know, Andy spoke about data. Great data means you can make great decisions. Great data means you can make great marketing decisions as well as business decisions. And for us, all assets of that are important. And I think what I've noticed that's changed is it's difficult, I think, for one person, whether that's someone in an agency or a CMO within a brand, to really cover all of these bases adequately. And I think to have a vision and a goal, to build a strategy with an agency or an in-house team or a team of contractors, is to work on all of those sections to really bring everything together.
So what goes wrong then if you are looking at a business, for example, and trying to analyse what's happening and where we can make a biggest difference? What do you typically see as the kind of the biggest things that are going wrong for a business, where you look at it and go, that is my favourite thing to see because I know we can help?
I think it's, I mean, for me as a more, you know, sort of technically focused person, that's what I always see first. It's potentially bad advice or, you know, things have sort of just gone down the wrong route for a brand, you know, whether it's picking the wrong e-commerce platform to suit their needs, or whether it's, you know, neglecting a particular service line and not performing. I think when I see opportunity in improving a website or completely rebuilding a campaign in a specific channel, yes, that gets me excited, because if I go back to Andy's point about establishing what is the business's needs, what objectives are they trying to get to, if they want to grow revenue by 20%, and I can see a website that's poorly converting, that with some work on the user experience can convert better, or I can see wasted spend on an AdWords campaign, I can see how that gap can be closed. So for me, looking at an opportunity, looking at how we can use our skills and expertise as an agency and a team of specialists, that's the part that I get excited about, but you can't do all of that if you don't know what it is that you're trying to achieve. So for us, seeing the tactics, seeing the opportunities, these are all the building blocks to then work up to that company objective, that business need that Andy was referring to.
So don't you think that's what any agency does though, is look at a kind of tactical problem and go, yeah, we can sort that, we can sort the website?
I do, but I talk about strategic evolution of our understanding and where we want to really get a clear position on this. Integrated agency, I think is an overused term, but it's also I would say a bit of a naive term in our industry at the moment, because an integrated agency could be someone that does, or an agency that does more than, say, 5 service lines. If you think about the journey that a client needs to go on, what does integration mean? If you do pay-per-click, if you do web design, if you do SEO, if you do a bit of email marketing, you're branded an integrated agency. And I'm not too sure that that's what it is nowadays. I think we need to think at a deeper level with what integration is, which comes back to this: are you integrated if you can't really clearly define what a client's needs are? Like smartly though, not just have a list of things that I want a client. You've got to be able to pull and push at those sort of those desires that the business has. If you can't articulate a brand and reposition a brand, are you really integrated as an agency? And if you can't, and to your question earlier, the bit that I would have get excited about myself is this customer experience piece. If as an agency you don't understand customer experience, you can't. I don't believe you can be integrated. And customer experience is, in most cases, the most missed off or misunderstood piece. And if you think about the way that the tech conversation evolves, so on the left-hand side of a diagram we use, you have the first time someone touches your brand. On the right-hand side is them being an advocate and then referring them to friends and family, and you should use this company because of X, you should buy this product because of X, I've had this amazing experience. In the middle of that are all what the integrated agencies do, right? They build up funnels where they'll target you on social media, they'll follow you on pay-per-click, they'll get you onto a website, they'll send you an email and do all the tactics bit. That's good, right? That's important. Every agency needs to be efficient at doing that. But if you can't get that connection between the user experience and the timing and the customer experience, or you send the email at the right time when the person's ready to buy, that's good tech. And when you were talking earlier about what's important for a client with a tech decision, we automatically go sort of website, e-commerce platforms. We automatically go to things like AdWords and social media platforms. For me, the level below that are the platforms that allow us to understand the customer journey and understand the customer experience. We get our best results where our customer experience team, in phase 1 of writing a integrated strategy, where we map out all of the different journeys, all of the different personas, all of the different buying behaviours of their clients or customers, whether it's B2B or B2C, because I think we automatically think customer experience relates to B2C, but B2B is really, really important around hitting the right client at the right time, or the right customer at the right time with the right message.
Exactly, and actually, in B2B messaging, I was looking at this only yesterday, it's still a person you're talking to. 100%. It's still a person making the decision. It doesn't matter if they're responsible for a £1 billion business or for their own purchasing decision about, what cat food they're buying. It's still, ultimately, it comes down to how is that person making the decision.
One of the briefs we had from a client, we started a strategic repositioning piece in August, September this year. And part of the brief was, we want to make B2B fun. We want to be creative. And if you're an agency and you haven't got a creative team, i.e. this brand piece, and you just do tactics, how do you make the campaigns fun, engaging? How do you you need a creative team to come at it and understand that customer. And you know, one of the journeys we're going on with this particular client is we're doing creative campaigns in the B2B space that are going to make a difference, and they are going to make a noise, and they're going to create emotion. Whereas I think a lot of the agency world, or a lot of the branding world, gets really excited about B2C. It's a little bit easier in some respects, but we can't underestimate B2B creativity. You got
to bring the humanity to it, haven't you? Right. So if I said to you, what's your favourite type of, like, if you had a kind of ideal client, what would it be like? What would you be looking for?
Great question. I for one love working across e-commerce brands. There are brands out there I'd love to work with, just because there are brands out there that I support, advocate, like buying and enjoy their products or services. But I think for me, you know, having grown up and grown into the digital age, I have a real passion for e-commerce brands. I have a passion for e-commerce brands that have got the ability to grow, that have great products, because often, you know, again, through their technical setups, they, you know, very rarely come across a brand that's fully reaching their potential in terms of the audience creativity that they can be doing. So for us, ambitious e-commerce brands that are looking to have, you know, global growth, I love and enjoy working on those. It presents an incredible technical challenge for our team, but often e-commerce can touch just about all aspects of a customer's journey through the platforms, you know, that Andy was referring to. So working with global e-commerce brands, helping them navigate, you know, the tricky landscape of everything from translations, multiple currencies and checkouts, that presents a real challenge, but the results can be seen in revenue, which you know, which is quite exciting to track.
I'm not too sure it matters what business or brand it is we work with. It sounds really corny, but I'm genuinely more looking at the people. I'm looking at the CEO, I'm looking at the C-suite, I'm looking at the marketing director, the marketing team.
What about them then?
I'm looking at how do you build a relationship up with people on a day-to-day basis where you can deliver value, right? You know, and we've had clients over the years where they're not easy to work with, and we've got clients that we work with now that are great to work with, and they might be a small local business with a really small team. They might only be a marketing manager and a marketing exec, right the way through to really established, smart marketing teams run by really smart CMO. That's, and I think they're the important bits to get. I think it's the relationship that I would like to lean into in terms of clients we want to work with, as opposed to a particular brand, or because we use a framework that says, is it a fun, a fame, or a fortune client? And they all have different levels of enjoyment, but the people in the middle and who you're working with on a day-to-day are critical. You have to have a really solid relationship.
Do you think we know it all about strategy then? Do you reckon we've got it?
Yeah.
When we come across a really big brand, like ones that we're hoping to win, typical response there, he's like, yeah, no.
Dude, no, I know you're desperate. Because do you think we know it all about strategy? Obviously, can you ever know everything? Because it's a moving target. But the reason I quite cheekily said yes is because I think we have some brilliant people in this business that can push a CEO, push a CMO, and challenge, and that's really important, because if you just take the brief, and the brief being the business plan, and then you say, right, let's just have a look at the P&L, and it's not there, then we can push that. And I think it's really important. We have an amazing creative department and branding department in terms of brand positioning, brand communication. We've got brilliant tech and data, and so we've got those three elements that I think are really important for the next for the foreseeable. So if you or a client came to us and said, we're starting up tomorrow, we need a strategy, I'm 100% confident that we could absolutely help that business brand on that journey. if a billion-dollar organisation came to us and said, we need help with strategy, I think we have the right answers, or we know how to ask the right questions. Maybe that's the more.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's about being able to coach the kind of strategy out of the people who have got the information. And oftentimes when you come to a business, they don't know particularly, but our job is to ask the right questions of the right people and bring that all together into a cohesive narrative.
So to your question,
carry on, James.
Bonnie, do I think we know everything around strategy? Do we have fantastically talented team members? Do we work with great clients? Yes, absolutely. There hasn't really been a challenge we haven't risen to the occasion on. I sort of take the Socrates angle of, knowledge is knowing you know nothing, because I believe we as a team, I as an individual, we're always open to learning. And because digital is moving so fast, we have to have our eyes open and understand that things are changing so fast. There are new things coming out. The implementation of AI in digital marketing is moving at such a pace. And for me, having an openness and awareness to learn new things, I think is a key critical part to being a great digital marketer, being a great strategist. So are we confident in our team and our abilities to work together as a team to write strategy, to implement strategy? Absolutely. But I think in order to provide and have an evolving and forward-thinking strategy, we have to be open to changing the markets, changing technology, to ensure that we're really at the top of our game. And I think anyone that thinks they know everything right now is somebody who is practicing what I've just mentioned, of actually being aware, open and learning on a daily basis.
There's so many things at the moment exactly about the world that are changing. I think the only thing that's certain in business is that it's going to change. I think for us, as a business, embracing that kind of awareness of change, awareness of the fact that things are kind of moving outside the business but also inside the business, I think that is a strength actually for us. It's not, we don't sit and feel contained and safe by the fact that things are the same. We lean into the fact that they're constantly moving and changing and evolving, all the way through from the way we deal with people and support our team internally to the way we deal with the client and push for the answers to questions that are maybe a bit uncomfortable, because those are the things we need to do a great job and to build the partnership. So sometimes it's worth the risk, even in the face of making an awkward moment, to ask the questions that are going to allow the business to progress and allow the people to progress.
Yeah, and I come back to your first question, what is strategy? And for us, with all of these moving targets, I believe the most important thing for us to do is have a really clear framework that is helpful for a client, to give them some structure, and it's helpful for us to have some structure. And I think if we're going to get the basics really well, to connect the business up, I'll come back to it because it's really important that we articulate this in the right way. If we're really clear on what the business plan is, and we're really clear on what the brand is, we can have a marketing strategy. And you can write a marketing strategy based on connecting those two things. If you're really clear on what your brand is and your tech is, then you can write a customer experience strategy. And I think having a customer experience strategy is equally as important as having a marketing strategy now. And I think that's what I was trying to say earlier. And then if you want to connect that tech up back to your business, you really need to have a tech stroke business transformation strategy. And if you do those three things and relating it back to marketing, you've got a really, really, really good chance of getting that P&L to do that, or getting those leads and connecting sales and marketing up. So often in large organisations, actually, it's less so in small organisations, but in large organisations, you have a sales machine over here and you have a marketing machine over here. The tech doesn't talk to each other, and the poor CEO or CMO in the middle is going, why aren't we moving this business forward? Why are sales people or the sales department running in this direction and our marketing not correct? So you've got a frustrated marketing department, a frustrated sales department, a frustrated CMO and a frustrated CEO, and and it really is about trying to join those two departments together. And we, from a marketing agency delivering integrated marketing, and you go, what's the purpose? Why do you exist? If you did that one thing for an organisation, you'd win. Yeah. You'd move the organisation forward. And it's not because the people in those positions are not smart. It's just because the strategy isn't clear about, connecting those up, or the tactics that come off of that. And
you sometimes need that outside view of a business to kind of check in again and take another look. I mean, that's why we keep doing strategy conferences. It's kind of like to recenter the whole business, the whole team, to recenter us on where we're going and what we're doing. Yeah. And that kind of cohesion around a joint vision is really important, because there are days when people ask themselves, wait a minute, what am I doing? What am I doing this for?
Gosh, we need to ask ourselves every single day. That's reality, right? But I think that's a really, really, really smart way to sort of bring this together, in terms of the strategy is to take you out of what you're doing to make sure there's a why you're doing it. I don't think I've ever articulated that. It's come out of the conversation, but strategy should give you your why you're doing something. The plan should give you what you're doing. Yeah. And if anyone in your organisation, in a marketing function, because that's naturally what we lean into, obviously, if the strategy is in place, you've got a lot of people doing stuff. If it is in place, they should be able to answer the question, why are you doing that today? And I think that's quite nice.